During 2017, I participated in an innovative rehabilitation program for complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I came away with an unintended, remarkable body of painting works and greatly improved quality of life. My background as an artist, creative arts therapist and medical scientist enabled me to invite my treating practitioners and colleagues to come together in fostering education and conversation about the Sensitised Central Nervous System and my recovery. Here is one of several offerings.
All right, so we're now at the panel discussion time of this afternoon's presentation. And I'm aware that I haven't done a kind of more formal introduction to Dr. Margaret Jim Yu, or Jim, as she would be prefer to be called. There's a lot of doctors in the room and it sort of gets a bit too formal. So, Jim has been a graduate of Monash University in the medical school and has been practicing integrative medicine for more than 30 years. She's a past president of the Australasian Integrative Medicine Association, contributed to the bridging of mainstream and alternative medicine, bringing the organisations together from both sides. She has also facilitated the first Commonwealth-funded meditation-based stress management project in 1996 to 1997 for patients and GPs of the Boroondara area. She has many, many skills and has been a pioneer in the term, or the development of the term, transformational medicine, and has founded the Transformational Medicine Association, which addresses the informational and energetic nature of human beings and how body symptoms and mental health issues may be a deeper calling for transformation, growth, and the experience of greater dimensions of our being. Apart from her holistic practice, Jen enjoys her 4 robust children, young men, and a grandmother of 2 lovely girls. So it's lovely to have you here. I also, in the spirit of trying to create some level of conversation and dialogue here, I know Victoria's been really, really interested in how people have responded to the artwork. And so the first invitation in this conversation is for a response to what was it like to be present to Victoria's paintings. And I know Nancy has a response, so we might get 2 responses, that'd be great.
My response personally was just a beautiful gratitude to have the opportunity to just look at colour and shape and to find a resonance within me of how that seemed to reflect back to me certain moods, or there was a soothing quality to some of the art, and then there was a very delightful, uplifting quality within the shapes and the rhythm of the colours. And what struck me down there was this connection. You said the artwork connected you, somehow kept you connected to self. And I find that really powerful as a yoga and meditation teacher, this connection to this original self, this inner you throughout this process. And I felt like I could find my own resonance in that by viewing the work. So it was quite beautiful.
Thank you. You're happy to give a quick response to...
Yeah.
Let's start with you.
And if I put a quick question at the end as well to Victoria. So I felt that the images that began from a particular point in time and then ended at another point in time were a really good way to show the journey.
Yeah.
And for you to be able to reflect, and that's how I resonated with it, to be able to reflect on where I've come from and what I've overcome, where I'm at, and how things are emerging and changing and evolving into something newer, more amazing, or better than before. So with some of the challenges that I've overcome, it's been really important for people to say to me, you never used to be like that, you're like this now. Or look how far you've come, and remind me, because I forgot to actually ask people to choose, moments in time to capture for me so that I could reflect on. But that was really helpful in my recovery. So I think art therapy is an amazing way to show the journey and then explain it to somebody else who's going through the same thing that you're going through, to say, hey, look at how you can come across from where you are to the other side of where you'd rather be. The question that I had was, when you touched yourself on your body when you were in that kind of pain, did it hurt? Or did it only hurt when other people touched you?
It only hurt when other people touched me. However, having said that, I had pain, constant, whole body, with a bit, there was sort of certain areas that were worse than others, but I had constant whole body pain the whole time. It's just that when I touched myself, it didn't get worse, but it was there anyway.
Thank you.
I'm going to jump in now, seeing as I've got the mic. There was two things that I wanted to take the opportunity to grab from us, of you, the audience. So the first one was some response to the work, because that's really interesting to me. That, I can't really get that a lot of distance from the work. I have all my memories and my ideas and my sense of what that painting was about, and it's so interesting to get a relatively more objective feedback about. Not that I made it for the audience, but part of me thought maybe it was such a harrowing experience that my artwork might be very dark or dense or, I don't know, heavy, and yet it seems to be quite the opposite. And I have actually found that really interesting to reflect upon, and I kind of started to get this idea that I think what was going on there, I'm just sharing this randomly, is that because the art making is so enjoyable for me, it allowed me to connect with the only thing that I could really find in my life that was any sense of vitality or joy or happiness or reason to kind of live, And so I suppose it makes sense that it would actually be colourful and it would actually be joyful. And yes, there's some more smoothing palettes and some more soothing, some more agitated, what have you. But so that's why I was interested in that conversation, and I'd love to have more conversations about that with anyone at some point. And that leads me into what I'm wanting to get to, is that blank piece of paper that you've got is obviously there for you to do your own jottings and documents and whatever, go for it. But I'd like to invite you, if you would like, to leave that piece of paper on your chair when you leave, if you would be willing to share it with the project team, or rip it up and leave a part of it. The other option is you could take it with you if you'd like to have it, keep it, and take a photo of it or a part of it
and you could either post it up on the project's Facebook page, which is listed on the bottom of that sheet. You could post that publicly or privately. Or you could email it to the project email address. We're interested to know, there was such a huge response to this project. The thing sold out, the event sold out within 2 days of the major circulation of the invitation. So we're kind of interested in, why did you come? What interests you about this event? What were you hoping to learn and experience? And has that happened? And if it hasn't, what was missing? What could we have done more of? What could we have done less of? How could we do it better? Because we are looking at, most likely, having multiple opportunities to deliver this project again. So, yeah, we're just really keen on that feedback. I think that's all. Would anyone else, we'll just open it up a bit now to just general questions. Just raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question.
I'd actually like to hear a little bit from Dr. Jin Yu about her time. Oh, sorry, no, that's all.
We've got two people, so a question about hearing from Dr. Yu.
Yes.
And you have also a question, Director. So we'll deal with both of those, one after the other. Yep. Go for it.
Hello, thank you. I actually, Paul, how do you use this technique? I know that you sort of seem to, from what I took as though it was something that you had kind of come up with.
No.
But how do you use this technique with others?
Yes, I continue to. The way I've described that is certainly not me. There was a group that's come out of this, the Neurotherapeutic Institute in South Australia, with a whole bunch of brain researchers. But I have been doing this type of work, well before the graded imagery, tactile discrimination. So it was just convenient for me to actually describe it in that sense. So it just framed it a bit for people who may know that work. But yeah, I've been doing this for quite some time.
The colour by numbers.
Oh no, colour by numbers.
Yeah.
Oh right, no. Sorry, my apologies.
Colour by numbers.
No, that was just.
Of it was that. Yeah, it seemed like it's something you.
Oh, it just popped out of my head.
No.
There was no mind to it. It was just as I say. It was an idea that she was hammering me so much about doing something that I just needed to give her something back.
Sorry, just needed to clarify.
In actual fact, it did come from my own memory, because as Hassan has, we've spoken about this, that, as I said, I used to do it as a child.
Yeah.
It's the only way I could actually do anything like painting. So I used to, and it just popped in because it's everything we were talking about. And she said, "What about numbers and this and so on?" And she was looking up at me up on the table, and
So Paul, so on that, is there in your mind an idea or some evidence that you've drawn from that suggests that there is something that kind of facilitates the brain working in a more functional state, that through using colour and numbers or a mathematical kind of equation? So although you know that colour by numbers came up, there seems to be an element of
yes, it was directed by the fact that
that's what I kind of want to get.
Yeah, it was directed at the time just for her, because I didn't want her to have any right hemisphere, what we call limbic right, that area being very activated. She was having a lot of other trouble, so the thought to me that she was going to do something that might create some emotional involvement or involve her in emotionality when we were discussing not to do that. So I shifted over to the other side. She wanted to do something that she enjoyed, and numbers was sequential. That sequential, as was beautifully described by Hasana, that ability just to sit and allow her brain to be directed. I like to have a hook. When I'm giving therapy to people for rehab, there's a hook. If it's a child that's kicking a football, if it's this, something that's going to improve or give direction and motivation. And she seemed to be very clear on this motivation, so I saw it as a hook for her to get into what I was suggesting, but also, as I say, to stay away from activating networks that were going to potentially cause inflammation, pain, the various almost hyperimmune response that she was having.
I'll just jump in. The question directed towards Gin, I'd like to just add to it. I don't know, Janet, Mum, if you wanted to hear anything particular, but I would love to hear you speak a little bit about psychoneuroimmunology, because it hasn't really come up as yet, and it's a complicated area, and Gin's, I'm asking her to perform a miracle to speak about this in, 10 minutes, but anyway, she's a miracle worker. There's a strong immunology component to my story, and there's a strong medical component to my story that we haven't really discussed today, and that's why I've invited Gin here, and I wish we had more time and she could have actually even given you a whole presentation. Essentially, my immune system has been impacted greatly, and I've got a persistent infection in my body that's probably involving my nervous system, and I'd just like to hear you speak a bit more about that and trauma and how the whole thing kind of comes together.
In 10 minutes.
Yeah.
No, Chris.
I actually want to stay through the conversation for a bit, and some of my feedback about the process here as well. And something, is that there's a bit of a ghost role in the room and in your process, and I want to bring that out. And I'm just noticing there's an organicity, something organic happening. Can you hear me? Yes? Something organic happening, and I want to draw attention to this organicity that's in you, and it's very strongly in you, because you are actually, even though you were chaotic and all of that, but the presence, and is it Nancy? Mentioned that you're still connected to that inner self, and I think that's really important for all of us to actually acknowledge that, because that's like that ghost. No one's saying that, but I want to say that it is there, and there's this pre-conscious awareness of this inner energy that's guiding you through this whole process. And even the process that Paul and you were working in, to be aware that as I was listening to that you're in this field of consciousness, that there is nothing, and I'm speaking from my experience, from my own work of however many years, there's nothing accidental. And so there was a meta-awareness happening in that field as you were drawing that wave, and that it was speaking. So there is, therefore, the connections between you and Paul and you and the environment, and there's connections. So it's very strongly there with you, and through your drawings as well, you have gone through stages, and there is, as opposed, it's not just PTSD, but a lot of people suffering in my field of awareness, whether it's anxiety or depression or chronic illness like cancer and arthritis and heart disease. Usually on the mind-body aspect, because I spent 20 years of my initial clinical work in defining the integrative medicine part of it and the functional aspect of it. And yet there is also the mind-body aspect, which is so closely linked that I needed to spend my last 20 years, I've been 40 years in practice, 20 years working on that link, and that's where the psychoneuroimmunology is as well. But if you look at that, if I follow your paintings and what little I've been exposed to, there's a lot of unloading. You are overloaded like that, and then there's a lot of unloading. And in the unloading, I noticed that you're making space. There's spaciousness in you. And in this spaciousness, you can actually hear your inner voice more, your inner direction, your organic inner energy is there definitely. And so, can I then now talk a little bit about? Yeah, I feel a bit like excited, like, I don't know whether you were excited in 2016 when she came back. No. So I'm actually in that phase. I don't know whether I'm going to be excited or not. But let's talk about the, I think you, in your email, you kind of like saying, where to from here? Yeah. Like that. And so there's the physical aspects of your biotoxins. When you talk about infection, it's possible that you don't have the infection, but you have a lot of antibodies and also toxins left over from the infection. And then you might ask, well, what was that infection to do with all that PTSD, the trauma? And yes, this research has shown, as some of you already know, that that early life trauma, early life stresses have an impact on your immune system. And so any kind of fear-based threat, real or not, real imagine, creates these pro-inflammatory peptides called cytokines, and these actually are generated in depression, in heart disease, in cancer, and all of that. That's why in chronic illness there's always this anxiety and depression. And some of you may know the ACE study. Do you know ACE, ACE, which is adverse childhood experiences, have actually shown, look it up, you can just look at adverse childhood experiences. And the more, in that study, the more traumas you have, the more likely you are to develop chronic illness and so forth. So psychoneuroimmunology is now open now, or I don't know, there's another group of research that is being done or needs to be done, and it's been articulated by this group, that now there's a whole new group called affective immunology. Affective immunology, which means emotions. They're definitely showing the connection of emotions and immune system. So this is really important to look at from not only managing the chronic illness bit, because when you were with me, Vic, that was like, same as Paul, it was like, wow, just far too much to handle like that. So talking about that, then there is therefore the connection, and those who have early traumas, their immune system are primed for infection. Depending on whether it's the innate immune response or an adaptable immune response, and apparently your immune cells may have a bit of the genetics of whether you're an extrovert or introvert. And so if you are an introvert, then your adaptive immune system will be more active, which means that you have a more focus of the inner life. Whereas some people who are more extrovert, their immune system is more extrovert too. It's really interesting. Then they are more likely to be focused on the external life. So you can see that just from your journey, you're quite an extrovert, and your immune system, therefore, it has the more adaptive immune response. And this adaptive immune response, unfortunately, produces a lot of antibodies, and therefore the tendency to go into autoimmune disorders. So in your biology at the moment, there's a lot of stuff to work through. And so I think the biotoxins and how do we release the biotoxins, although your MRI scan says it's more like PTSD. So I think that you would be a lovely study for those people who are researching effective immunology, don't you think? So we can, I think there's a whole load of research on brain and neuroscience and all that, trying to kind of like help us understand what's going on in our body. I think, otherwise you are kind of like and you're very fortunate because there are so many other people who just end up in psychiatric wards like that, whereas they're actually suffering from past traumas, yeah, and they need to be worked on. And so art therapy and what Paul is doing, you know, desensitizing and all that is really part of that process of, what is that process, Vic? What is that process? What's happening for you? What is this journey about?
I'm returning to myself.
That's it.
Then become able to come closer and
Approaching myself and getting closer and closer, and then
Beautiful.
Returning into myself.
That's it. And so that's what I am noticing with my patients with chronic illness, that is what they're aching for. To experience more and more of who you are, who we are, and that these things that happen to us open up these things, these areas of our life. And I'm sure between 2015 and now you're a lot more endowed, embraced. And so once you know that this is where you're going to go, then what is lacking perhaps in the medical mainstream at least, but it's great to hear that there's art therapists here because you are more soul-oriented, and that is the journey of the soul. And what does that mean? So rather than, so we can actually talk about emotions versus feelings. Because emotions, if you take it as the triggering emotions, and then the sentient feelings is the healing ones. I've learned something called deep democracy. Anyone know what that is? Okay. So one of my teachers is, you can write this down because it's great to follow him, is Dr. Arnie Mindell, Mindell, which is process-oriented psychology or process work. And suddenly in my journey to discover why do people get sick, and I asked that question when I was 21, and I'm 60, well, can tell you, 65 now. So there's a whole long journey of learning, and of course, you know, all my people, and with you too, is open up that door for me to actually move away from fixing medicine. And what I've come to in, I suppose that after so many years, is to realize that everything that seems bad that happens, there is this organicity, if you like, this inner essence, and that it's coming out to kind of bring you home. And somehow the more resistant you are, or I am, the more challenging it is. And so that if you look back into and tell your story about what happened to you all these years, it seems like you would be like telling a story as if it is a dream. So we talk about the dreaming, dream time, the dream body, our inner consciousness, the inner work. And I believe that I'm excited, I'm not scared for you, that you are ready to actually step forwards and track your dreaming. Because in tracking the dreaming, you'll find this expansive part of you. And I'm excited for you that you are there, at this stage here. And how do we track that? You know, and I use in this audience, perhaps, I don't know how many medicals are here, but don't report me when I say you've got to be a little bit shamanistic about this.
I think we have a question.
Oh, hello. My name is Chanling Wong. Yes, I've seen a couple of weeks ago an interesting documentary about childhood trauma and its ramifications throughout the adult life. That clinical studies have showed that the immune diseases and inflammation, heart disease and rheumatism actually stays with you permanently. And even if throughout adult years you get over the trauma, but a lot of the diseases stay with you. So I'm a bit concerned about that.
I don't believe that. I mean, Paul said beautifully, we are neuroplastic. Okay, and that's another favorite topic of mine is, that we are all here, like Vicky's experience and each of your individual experience are really important, not only transforming ourselves, it's actually we're all here to transform the world.
Okay, so I suspect they were talking about epigenetic
Yes.
changes,
Yeah.
but that can be reversed?
It can be reversed,
Oh,
definitely.
interesting.
Absolutely. You can grow your brain.
Mm.
Like it is well known in psychoneuroimmunology that people who are traumatized, the size of the amygdala and the limbic and the hippocampus and the cingulate gyrus is actually very tiny. But with mindfulness, that's the clue, really. With mindfulness, it's been shown that you can regrow them. And those people who spend years in meditation, those areas are actually quite significantly larger. So you can change, and how do we change? Do we have time for that?
I'm just curious to know, I would love to have time for that, but there may be a lot more questions.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
if we don't have questions, yes, we have time. Anybody else got any questions of any of the panel, including Victoria, Sana?
Comments?
Could I jump in?
Yes.
Hasana, I would just like to create some space, if you'd like it, to... I imagine you had to kind of... there's so much more that you could say or might like to say, and yet haven't had the opportunity. Is there anything you want to share, discuss?
No, I'm fine.
I actually am interested, though, Hasana. Put you on the spot a bit. Because I know that you've worked as an arts therapist, working with people with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'm just curious, from an arts therapy perspective, some of the processes that you have found to be most useful in your practice, and I'm wondering if you could comment on that.
Well, I certainly can't say that the art therapy has been the major component. No.
Okay.
Very much an additional component. And yet I had one client who came to me and said, I just want to do art therapy. And painted in my room for about the first 3 to 4 months and achieved a huge amount in terms of the kind of neuroplasticity and the connecting, sense-making and connecting to feelings and so on. So for that particular person, she was able to recognise, which was such a gift that somehow she was given, that that's what she needed to do. But that may have been at least partly, and this is where you often get the case where a lot of the people who come to me have already tried the psychological route and found it completely deficient.
Yeah.
So by the time they come to someone like myself, they have a sense that just sitting across a table and talking to someone isn't going to do it.
Yep. I really appreciated what you were saying downstairs around the kind of complexity of the field, and it's really evident to me that in this particular story of Victoria's, it was very much about her background as an artist that was significant in the arts being present. So it's kind of, you're reiterating that idea that it's a complex field, and what works for some people doesn't work for other people.
Yes, I do, because I'm working with complex PTSD and dissociative disorders, and quite often people who've been raised in cults, which is very, very difficult work. I do believe, and here I'm sure I get support, that multiple approaches are necessary. I absolutely reiterate that it is not enough to just go to one therapist. There's a whole lot of different approaches that are mind, body, the gut, the immune system, and so on. And each may require a different intervention and a different specialist.
Because the human being is multi-leveled. But I just want to talk a little bit more about add a bit more to the art therapy aspect. And that's such a wonderful, wonderful channel to actually experience oneself. And sometimes some people need art, but also it's about exploring, because the art therapy or anything that is creative is helping Victoria to experience who she is. And so it's not just the drawing, because as I was looking at that, I was actually going kind of in my awareness way, like feeling what Victoria, you might have been feeling as you were drawing that. So that it wasn't just a drawing, it was actually maybe 2, 3, 4 dimensional. So therefore, I think that sometimes that we as human beings tend to be a tendency to stay in one channel. And you just mentioned that talking is one channel like that. So we need to explore it. The being inside us want to experience ourselves more fully. So we might need to do it in art, in movement, in music, in food, in dancing around, in all of that as a way of knowing all those aspects of ourselves. And I think that is an important thing to think about.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Maria.
I just have a comment, and thank you, Victoria, and everybody here today. It's been a brilliant afternoon. But I guess a comment I wanted to offer you, Victoria, is one of the things that really stood out for me when you were talking downstairs with Hassana was when you commented about how art in a time that was very dark for you was one thing that created or allowed you to experience joy and expansiveness in otherwise what was a very restrictive and contracted way of being.
It might sound a bit cliche, but whatever. It saved my life. I mean, it wasn't the only thing, but without it, as well as everything else, I mean, I think Jin mentioned, a number of people in this sort of situation end up in psych wards. I mean, I came pretty close. I came very close. Very. It was only because of my background that I was able to kind of navigate my way around that with a lot of support. Incredible amount of support to enable me to manage it. I couldn't live on my own. I couldn't be on my own. Just to hang in there and to be able to have my own space, private space to move around rather than a psych ward. To be able to work one baby step at a time. But the art, being able to come back and sit down multiple times a day, even if it was 5 minutes, if that's all I could manage, because I was in such pain. I was lying down pretty much 24 hours a day for a number of years. Thank you for that feedback or that comment.
Any other comments? Either? Yes?
I just wanted to thank Victoria for sharing all this, because I've been on a bit of your journey on the other side and heard all these amazing people and what they were offering, and saw you from the lying down to where you are now, because you were coming for meditation and Reiki, and just this is just such a special space that you've created here. I don't think you understand how special. It's that interconnectedness and that spaciousness for I think that I just wanted to thank you for creating this and doing it. I think it's a really special experience, and I am really interested in what comes from it, because I think today we're in it, and I think there might be a lot that comes from this that we individually don't even know yet. So I just wanted to thank you.
That's partly why I've set up the Facebook page and the email, to allow the possibility of fostering some kind of networking, community sort of scenario. Who knows, whatever, it's organic. You know, if people have questions and they don't feel comfortable delivering them now, or there's not time, whatever, you know, I haven't set up the page as a kind of a, it's a networking thing, it's a conversation, it's not about me being an expert. And, you know, so there's a distinction there when I'm not offering advice or anything as such. But I'd like to encourage you to make use of that. And Jan, we've got 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Did you want to say anything else, or can I say two things instead of just the... Because I want to give a few thanks, but I would like to also respond a bit to what you were saying, Deb. And it probably will only take 5 minutes.
No, look, I mean, my role I see as kind of the organising body in this kind of scenario. So the only thing I wanted to say was really to thank everyone, the panel in particular, for their time and, you know, the commitment to you and to this process has been remarkable, and the presentations have been extraordinary. Different but interconnected. It's been beautiful. So I'll do my thanks now and I'll hand it over to you. And also to the gallery, to the guys doing the video, thank you. And to those of you who've been here and have kind of committed this afternoon to being present to both the artwork and the presentations that have been here. So that's all I want to say. Thank you all. I'll stop there.
So Deb, you were sort of getting at, in some shape or form, or what I heard was something about, you were thanking me for you know, putting this on and bringing this together. And it made me think of a conversation I had with Jan the other day around, why did I do this? And how did this happen? And is that something you would like to hear a few words about? Yeah. I feel our nervous systems are by and large a mystery to many of us, and yet they are a foundational system in our body. They're directing the traffic, the activities of our organs, our fascia, our muscles, our bones, our hormones, the list goes on. So I hope this afternoon serves to add to your understanding of and respect for your miraculous nervous system and your precious nervous system. That it offers a platform for addressing, managing and transcending your fears and those of your loved ones and your pains and your anxieties. These times that we're living in are changing, you know. The age of technology is in full flight. The age of screens, the age of multitasking and pace. Our suite of technologies, in a very broad sense, technologies and tools, must keep up with our lifestyle so as to provide us with tools to thrive. Otherwise, we're at risk of burnout and deterioration into survival consciousness. So I seek opportunities to release fear, and in this project I sought to transform this project, the event and the show, to transform this harrowing experience into a constructive contribution. I've also sought a way to explain my very alienating experience to my friends and family, many of whom are here today. So it goes without saying that you're the audience, you're co-creating, co-inquiring hearts. Thank you for being here and for offering that to each other and to us, the project team. I need to spend a few moments though again, I like Jan, thanking Hasana and Paul and Jan and Jin enormously. Taking on this project has been momentous for me personally. I know you know that. After many years in the mad, dark and woolly wilderness, each of you has so generously offered me, and therefore the audience, your time, enthusiasm, depth of experience, warmth well above and beyond. Well above and beyond. You've helped me foster a growing sense of confidence and dignity. A dignity that I'd mostly relinquished some time ago. And look, I just want to say, because I haven't had time to say it to you, I'd like to offer you each a gift of a piece of painting, piece of artwork, if you would like it, as a memento, memento of the event.
I'll take the one Paul's already.
No. I should have shared that for
I'd like to acknowledge the Marquette Institute for the financial contribution and moral support that they have shown me during the project, to my various precious friends and family members for their time, attention, support and encouragement. I was going to mention some people, but I'll talk to you afterwards. I just want to speak very briefly to the gallery. Unfortunately, there's only 2 staff members here, and they have Danielle, Chris, lovely to meet you both. Unfortunately, the gallery members that I've interacted with mostly are not here. Those responsible for the curatorial decisions around that community project wall where I'm hanging, Ellie Grosh, Stephanie Sarko and Fiona Tetman, I thank them for the privilege of exhibiting within the 2018 program and for the vision they've shown in presenting a body of work that illustrates clearly the very concrete relevance and value of art and creativity in our lives. And also in allowing me to present a body of work that demonstrates some of the ways in which art and creativity can very concretely serve our well-being. When I pitched this idea of the afternoon event to accompany the exhibition, I was just a submission and a CV on a screen, Yet they embraced it and it has evolved over the last 12 months since, as has our rapport and our mutual trust. And they've been seriously, incredibly generous with their in-kind contributions to this project. Very incredibly generous. I also thank the staff present here today, Danielle, Chris, Gary downstairs, Sarah, for your fantastic efforts overseeing the event and staying back after hours. The Town Hall, and indeed the whole Burundara Arts Centre in its entirety, it's a magnificent community resource. How beautiful is it as a space? It's fantastic. It's delightful, diverse, elegant and professional. It's wonderful. It's been great to kind of build a relationship with the gallery.
Well, I suppose as the person who's here from the gallery, I was here for the opening of the exhibition last week, I think, or the weekend before, and there's been a positive response, and I think it's such an engaging exhibition to have, and I think we'll have a lot more interesting discussions around it through the remainder of the exhibition. So thank you, and I think it's great to have the Facebook page, and we'll be able to, refer people back to you as well.